Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Infinalytics webinar, where we're going to be talking about Charlee Search, our new insurance insights engine. My name is John Standish. I'm going to be your host and a facilitator for the webinar. Couple of housekeeping rules. Your microphones have been muted, and we're not requiring that you turn on your video camera. So the agenda, what will flow for the next about 25, 30 minutes, is we're going to introduce the Infinalytics team that built Charlee Search, which is the very first insurance insight engine. We have a live demonstration of the Charlee Search solution, which will be conducted by Rama, our Chief Technical Officer. We will present 3 use cases in this demonstration: soft tissue injuries, roof damage, and public adjuster or entity claims. And then we're going to talk after the demonstration, what is an insights engine and what is a semantic search and why the insurance industry needs it now. And then we'll have a question and answer period. Speaking of questions, if you're on the right-hand side of your screen, up in the upper mid right-hand corner, you see a link that says questions. If you click onto that, it takes you to a chat box, and ask your questions as we go through the demo. The Infinalytics team is here, and we will queue up all the questions to make sure that we answer them. So don't be shy, ask questions, and we'll have the Q&A session afterwards. So joining me today in the webinar is Rama, our Chief Technical Officer, and then Tim Evans, if he can. Oh, it looks like he finally was able to log in and join. Tim is also going to co-present. The 3 of us are going to be doing this webinar for you. So let's get going. Rama, if you could go to the next slide, please. So let me introduce you to the Infinalytics team. The team's comprised of experts from the fields of data science, technology, engineers, and architects, senior claims management, and SIU, the directors of SIU, and government regulations, specifically for insurance, and then law enforcement. So we have a pretty deep and vast domain experiences, and it's a multidisciplinary approach, which is really one of the things that sets us apart from other technology companies in this space, and I'll get into this in a little bit. There's over 120 years of combined experience. And the team is here today, and we're standing by to help you with your questions later. And you are looking at the group that built the Charlee platform. So we know that the insurance industry is a complex marketplace. Laws, government regulations, underwriting, and claims are unique from each other, but are very dependent on each other. The consumers are demanding, and the competition is fierce. One of the first things that I learned conducting complex criminal fraud investigations was to assemble a multidisciplinary team to address and cover all aspects of the suspected fraud. This concept for creating and innovating insurtech solutions is key, using a multidisciplinary approach, and that's what we've done here at Infinalytics, and that is one of our core strengths. So when you look at a multidisciplinary approach, the technologists, the engineers, the data scientists, the domain practitioners and experts, both in the insurance industry and government and law enforcement, we have crafted the who, what, why, and how for claims and policy insights. So what I'm going to do now is turn this over to Rama, and he's going to be speaking for the next few minutes about talking to you about the 3 simple steps in getting Charlee AI insights involved into your business process, and then take us through a demonstration of the Charlee Search. Rama?
Sure. Thank you, John. So first of all, let me give a brief introduction of what is an insights engine. So an insights engine is basically an engine that can take in very diverse types of data from different sources, collate them together, and especially it can do a lot with unstructured data and get insights out of it. Those insights can be applicable in various aspects, whether it's in claims, underwriting, different aspects of the insurance process that we can use this. Now, the insight engine is a generic concept. What we have done here is build the industry's first ever insurance insights engine. And it's really easy to use. You need to upload your data. You can take an extract from the claim system, and we can take in various different types of data sources and formats. PDF files like your police reports, lawyer correspondences, emails, claim notes, as well as the claim structured data. So it's very easy. You can just upload it. We are hosted on the cloud, and we can also support on-premise solution if that is something you would prefer, where we can install our software on your premise and set up connectors to ingest the data. Once you ingest the data, there's the smart ETL that we have. The smart ETL automatically has it comes built in with various insurance domain specific ontologies and NLP models, natural language processing models. So it's automatically able to identify different topics, concepts, timelines, and entities, various things in the claim files, and it can automatically ingest those things. So just let Charlie do its job, do the smart ETL, get the data in, and once it's there, all you need to do is use search and you discover. So let me go to the demo and let me show you how that works. So here's the simple interface that we built for the Charlie Insights. You can enter a search term that you want to search on, and we have preloaded this demo with a set of sample claims that we have put in there. Now, once you go here, you can search for anything. So let's say, for example, you're a claims manager and you want to understand how are my claims with soft tissue injuries performing? What is the risk there? And how much money am I losing there? So let's go ahead and do a search for soft tissue injuries. And let's say you're only interested in commercial auto claims right now. There are also various other filters you can apply. Like, for example, you can restrict to certain causes of loss or certain states. You can go to only open or only close claims if you want. So in this demo, we're going to do all the claims. And there are also other filters that we can add in production if needed. Now, when you hit a go, what the system does is it does what we call as a semantic search. And what that means is it is going to look at all the claim files, not just for the exact phrase soft tissue injury, but for anything that might mean a soft tissue injury. So neck pain or sprain, things like that, anything, back pain, anything that might indicate a soft tissue injury will show up. What it does is it collates all the information together, and right away you can see, for example, that the average indemnity paid on soft tissue injury claims in the is about 4 times that of the non-soft tissue injury claim in this particular sample data that we have. You can also look at top patterns, for example. So for example, let's say there's a soft tissue injury claim with a chiropractor involved, with an ambulance involved, and with another third party in the claim who claims there was no injury. That average cost of claims that follow that pattern is almost 30 times the norm. So right here, you can see what your cost drivers are. Similar to cost drivers, we also bring out a litigation drivers. For example, you can see that your soft tissue injury claims within commercial auto have a 9 times higher chance of going into trial than the non-soft tissue injury claims. So this is an immediate dashboard that you can get back as soon as you run the search. Now, Tim here, who is on our team, has been a claims manager in the past. So Tim, are you online? Are you able to hear us?
I think Tim's having some issues, so let me step in for him,
Okay.
Rama.
Sure, John.
So you have a couple questions about what you just discussed about soft tissue injuries?
Yeah, so I guess this is a simple dashboard that a claims manager could go ahead and run a query and see some results right here. Now, if you had a dashboard like this, and I know, John, you have been in the industry as well, you have quite a bit of experience related to insurance. So how would a claims manager be able to use data like this?
Well, there's a number of different things that can happen for the claims manager, which would really put them ahead of the curve. So it's all about spotting the insights, what you can't see. So like when you're doing the soft tissue injury thing, and you start seeing some patterns between healthcare providers, attorneys. Maybe there's specific body shops that are always showing up in the claims. Maybe you have the pattern of, a car gets rear-ended and one person goes to the chiropractor and raises a significant amount of medical treatment, but the other two passengers don't go to the chiropractor. I mean, there's some red flags there that the claim needs to be looked at. And I think one of the coolest things about Charlee Search is it helps the claims manager route these highly critical care claims, would be a good way to say it, to the right claims examiner. So, something, that can get complex really quick. You don't want to give to your brand new claims adjuster. You want to route that to a senior claims examiner. So it's all about marshaling resources. That's one of our key things you're going to hear about, and then saving the time and the efficiencies. So it's being able to recognize severity, fraud, and marshal your resources, all from the first start of it.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And I apologize, we're having some technical difficulties. I lost the screen share for a second, but hopefully it's back on now.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So this is the high-level dashboard, right? At just the summary level, and at a glance, you can see, how many soft tissue injury claims we have, what are the different breakdown of costs in terms of the legal expenses, other expenses, indemnity paid. You can also drill down further, like I mentioned the beginning. Charlee automatically extracts entities, topics, patterns, different things from the claims. So let's say if you want to find out who are the significant entities involved in soft tissue injury claims, that's something you can go drill down and see, oh, wow, I see this Hassan body shop. They are found in about 30 claims. When there's a soft tissue injury involved, 40% of those claims tend to go into litigation. You can look at the costs, the average cost and indemnity paid here is about 12,000, which is almost 6 times the non-soft tissue injury. So you can right here see, who are the chiropractors, lawyers, body shops, different types of entities that might be involved in your claims. You can also look at different topics, like, for example, notice of lien. That is something that's coming up as a high cost. So whenever there's a notice of medical lien, your cost is escalating significantly on the soft tissue injury claims. You can see things like, hit and run with injury. How does that impact the claim, or various other topics, and correlate things. This can definitely help in your claims, but also in underwriting in terms of identifying new risks and emerging patterns as you find them. And talking about patterns, what Charlee also automatically does, and let me show you that here, is it also combines some of these things. Like, for example, the chiropractor, no injury from a third party, and or claimed by a third party and ambulance together. Also, in terms of, there's King's Auto, Benzo Hamid Law Firm, when they come together, what are the costs, what are the litigation aspects involved when different topics and entities come together in claims? That is another thing that Charlee automatically does for you. And you can also drill down. So, for example, let's say if you want to drill down here and look at what are the claims that involve a soft tissue injury, that involve a chiropractor, ambulance, and there's another party that is claiming no injury. It will do a semantic search, and it is does that. And so if you see here, things like shoulder, upper back pain, neck pain, this is where it does a semantic search. You can configure this view in 2 ways, either on a per document basis, where it's looking at different PDF files, claim notes, other things that it might find, or on a per claim basis, so it can group the thing together by claim. And you get other aspects of the claim. So, for example, there are certain open claims, there are closed claims. So you can go ahead and understand how things are performing on your closed claims, apply them towards your open claims. Like John was saying, these are things that you can escalate as appropriate.
Hi, Rama. I got into the session. Sorry for technical
Hi, Tim.
issues.
No worries, no worries. So, Tim, we were just talking about soft tissue injuries, and John kind of explained how a claims manager would use that. But if you have a couple of minutes, I do want to get your perspective as well, since you've had the claims manager experience there.
Absolutely. Just in general, everyone, I'm not a salesman. I've never been a salesman. I've been a claims guy since 1976. And I've seen these programs come and go. I've seen queries that we've had to run. And this type of search is revolutionary. If I had this search, I would probably still be working for my last carrier that I was at for 42 years. But in soft tissue injuries, that's the #1 loss type, injury type. It's the #1 area where there's increased severity. That's a huge, huge pain point for insurance companies. What the search pattern is shown here is that the soft tissue injuries had a high frequency. They had a high tendency to go towards litigation. And worst of all, is what's causing the insurance companies to not know where their severity is going to be downstream. Looking at the chiropractors and the attorneys, you can see sometimes there's a connection between the two. That's a huge fraud indicator, but even if it's not a fraud indicator, it's still something that you need to be aware of, because you might have a trend where an attorney might have your number. They might recognize that your adjusters or your SIU, your folks don't negotiate very strongly against them. And as a consequence, they continue to hit your company. That's going to have adverse loss experience. And that's exactly what they do. As you go into new states, that's exactly what happens as well. So this search will help you identify those parties, those entities that are taking advantage of your insurance company, probably more detailed and quicker than you've ever been able to ascertain in the past. This is an amazing program we've developed. Rama?
Sure, thanks, Tim. So let me go back and let's run a few more searches here. So Tim, I know in the past you have been involved with some homeowners claims. So let's look at, let's say if you want to look at, let's say roof damage claims, and you want to look at homeowners claims and see what happens to those claims, for example. So the system again looks at different things like, your shingles are broken, various different types of roof damages that might be there. It can give you at a glance what is the average cost, litigation, indemnity paid amounts. It can also give you a breakdown of the cause of loss, how the roof damage is coming together. And again, let's look at some of the topics associated that it can pull up here. So for instance, mold, pipe leak, a fact of loss discrepancy where something doesn't seem to add up, reinspection. These are things that seem to be coming up to the top. So Tim, does this help you in any way if you had this when you were working on the property claims?
Well, the first thing, this is a roof claim. And when you see a trend where roof claims end up with water damage, mold, etc., those secondary conditions should have been mitigated early on. Also, take a look and see if your losses are being reported timely. If you have a late FNOL, that gives the house time to cook. And we had trends in Texas where there were roof damage claims that some of them were legitimate, some were not. But as a result of the late notices by the claims, the adjusters didn't have an opportunity to see the homes, make a determination if there was any internal damage by the time they were able to get into the homes. With the hot weather, and some people turn their heaters on to, as we say, cook the house and create black mold. We found that the loss experience deteriorated incredibly. And we found that in Texas, we found it in Florida, and we also noted, as it shows here, that if you have public adjusters involved, you might have another issue as well. So roof claims in and of themselves, it could be a claims issue, it could be an underwriting issue. We insured a swath of the United States, and I won't name the states, but without knowing the lay of the land, without proper underwriting, we ended up with a huge number of roof claims. The roof claim severity increased so high, we sent folks out to inspect the houses before we started insuring. Turns out the roofs were, in most cases, 40 to 50 years old. They were worn out. The insurance company didn't have proper underwriting. Sometimes they didn't have proper claims handling, didn't send out the investigators to make sure, the engineers to determine what the cause of the loss was. Bottom line is that if we had had this type of a search device, we could have recognized immediately, within 3 to 6 months, that you have loss deterioration due to roofs. Check out the roofs, take photographs. Some insurance carriers are using drones now to inspect roofs. But if you don't do your due diligence, you do need a backup, and this system supplements whatever system you currently have.
Thanks, Tim. And a couple of things you mentioned, like, for example, the age of the roof. Yes, that is definitely something we can pull out as well as one of the topics and then do some correlations on that. You mentioned public adjusters. Like, for example, in this case, there's this public adjuster called Ocnosy PA who has come up in this particular claim. So you can actually run searches for that. So let's go back and let's say if you want to do a search for a particular public adjuster, a particular entity, and see what shows up. So in this case, I'm going to run a search for this entity, Ocnosy PA. And let's say I want to now I'm still looking at homeowners, but I'm going to limit it to just water damage, right? Since that's one of the things that you mentioned. And let's say I want to limit it to the state of Florida here. And let's see what shows up with this particular public adjuster. And by the way, just to let everyone know, we have modified the names. So these are not the real names. We have modified them. So it does show up. Looks like, when this particular PA is involved, there is almost a 3 times higher indemnity paid that is showing up. There is a higher chance of litigation as well. Let's see if he is involved with other entities. There's a few. Looks like there's Delphi Water and this particular public adjuster seem like they are involved together in about 6 claims, 33% chance of litigation. There's Trim's law firm. They're again involved in 6 claims together with 66% chance of litigation, and the corresponding costs here as well. So Tim, is this the kind of analysis that might help?
Absolutely. And again, like I mentioned before, if the insured fails to mitigate, if there's late notice, you're going to have a higher severity. Now, if you have a public adjuster involved on a homeowner loss in many parts of the country, particularly in the East and the South and some up north in New Jersey area, public adjusters are on almost every homeowner claim. They assist the insureds, but the insureds sign contracts with the public adjusters to help guide them through the process, even though they have a contract with the insurance company. So they're not all bad. And what you want to look for are those anomalies that stick out as, are they taking unfair advantage of the insurance company? How are they showing up a lot in your claims? Well, if they do show up, look at other key issues to correlate with them. In other words, are there other associated factors? Are the additional living expense amounts much higher? In my experience, I've noticed that there were certain public adjusters, and again, these names have been anonymized, but there were certain public adjusters who stretched the claims for as long as they could. The insureds were in hotels and homes or whatever secondary places that were temporary living, and it ran up their additional living expense, the ALE. Well, what we found is that some of these public adjusters were maximizing that so that they could in some way set the insurance company up for bad faith. They also increased, and again, not all of them, just a few, they increased the contents claims immensely. Why? Because public adjusters get 10% of the total settlement. And there's an incentive, unfortunately, that works against a reasonable claims adjuster, and you have to manage that. So these key issues or key elements in the metrics here will show you where your pain points are. If you don't recognize your pain points, you'll not assign the right adjusters to the claim. If you don't recognize there are certain entities that might be taking unfair advantage of you, you won't assign it to the SIU. So you might also want to assign it to an engineer to supplement your investigation. It's like changing direction on a battleship. If you have information, if you've got the intel like this search engine provides, you can move your assets or your claims adjusters, your senior level adjusters, your engineers, etc., to focus on those types of claims and leave the minor claims to your lower level or entry level adjusters. They don't need to spend that much time on them. So this is an excellent graph.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. And I just want to remind all the listeners that please do ask any questions that you have. This is your time to ask any questions and understand the system and how it can help you. So please go ahead and feel free to ask questions. So this is a brief demo that I wanted to give, at least to give you guys a taste of what the Insights engine is and how just starting from a simple search and applying a few filters, you can identify so many different things, from your unstructured claims data. I do want to hand it back to John and talk a little bit about a little more details on the Insights engine and how we have built it. So let me go ahead and switch to these slides. And go ahead, John.
All right, thank you, Rama. So I want you to remember the word SEE, S-E-E, seamless, easy, and efficient. That's what Charlee is and what it can do for you. So what is, so real briefly, what is an insights engine? Well, first, I mean, we know what insight means. It's a deep understanding of a person or a thing. So what we have built here at Infinalytics, the Charlee Insights Engine specifically for insurance, it uses artificial intelligence and machine learning that creates insights from data. It's the first of its kind ever. And what it does is it brings actionable insights from a variety of data sources. Internal and external data sources, structured and unstructured data sources are analyzed. And what's really key here is your unstructured data sources. There's a vast amount of information that goes largely untapped in the unstructured text. Charlee goes through that and pulls out these insights and presents it to you. Now, you heard Rama talk about the semantic search. This is a true game changer for the claims and policy process by bringing insights on an aggregate or an individual level. Now, we showed you today the insights on an aggregate level. You can also get the insights on an individual claim level as well. We just didn't have time in today's webinar to show you that. So it's aggregate or individual claim level. And because of this, it's generated a lot of interest. So think about operational efficiency, bringing some efficiencies into your business process. What Charlee does for you. It's a 360-degree view. There are 5 dimensions in this view. As Rama mentioned earlier, it's a smart ETL for on-demand insights. We have pre-built indexes, and we also have connection and domain context models ready to go. It has built-in artificial intelligence and machine learning. It uses natural language processing, or NLP, specific to the business of insurance. We have the knowledge graphs and ontologies built, and we have the pre-built machine learning models. As of today, we have over 3,000 unique insights already in Charlee that you can use right away. We trained Charlee on over 35 million claim files, 10 types of claim documents, so all the external documents that you get into your claim file, whether you're an NICB, ISO member, any data source that sends you a document and you put it in that claim file, Charlee can go through that. And Charlee, we have 6 external data sources as well. You're probably wondering about security. Charlee is SOC 2, HIPAA, PFI, and PII compliant, and your data is encrypted. It's encrypted at rest, in transit, and when it comes back at rest again. So it's totally secure. So Tim, based on what we've discussed so far, I'd like for you to come back on stage and real quick, just talk about some key takeaways from your perspective that will help our colleagues and leaders in the claims and underwriting verticals.
Sure, John. You know, the first thing that came to mind when I started with Infinalytics is that there's so much data we're playing around with as a claims manager. I was an AVP and I had reports coming out of my ears, and a lot of those reports were very, very helpful, but I didn't have access to creating a lot of them. So even though I learned how to do it eventually, I still was running down the hall to IT saying, can you run this report? I've got a data call on a catastrophe loss, or can you run a search in this area? I think I'm being hit with some attorney chiropractor scenarios that I think are suspect. So we've got lots and lots of data as an insurance company, right? We check trends, we check patterns, we're looking for fraud identification, fraud alerts, litigation and subsequent costs. But as an insurance company, all insurers are risk averse by nature. Okay, now the actuarial department and underwriting, yeah, they forecast rate and price risks, but the claims managers, the SIU folks, we manage those risks. And we're doing the boots on the ground work, I call it. But claims managers need this information related to indemnity losses, claims severity, litigation, fraud, investigation, allocated loss adjustment expense, and regulatory compliance, and more. Currently, claims managers track and gather data via queries, right? We run these queries and get all this stuff. Charlee is, like John said, it's a game changer. Now that we can gather information a lot quicker, as a manager, you can manage that battleship and turn a lot faster. I call it the speedboat, okay? Because we're able to move and adjust our resources with a lot better information, faster obtaining of this information, and recognize those pain points. Okay, so I'll turn it back to John for some Q&A.
All righty, thank you. So The chat window is going, and I think Charlee, our CEO, has been so far answered all the questions on there. So just a couple things I'd like to leave you with. We'll still keep the chat window open in case anything comes up here. Remember C, seamless, easy, and efficient. That's what Charlee is for you. 3 major points to remember about Charlee: time savings and efficiencies. For the claims angle, the ability to recognize severity, fraud, and marshal your resources where it needs to be quickly and efficiently. And for underwriting, the one example Tim gave is the ability to recognize loss degradation, like the 50-year-old roof on a new homeowner policy, or maybe it's at the time of renewal, things that get missed. So Charlee brings the opportunity for better efficiencies through artificial intelligence in a seamless process. Remember, the insights are on the aggregate or individual claims levels. It's robust and flexible for reporting, Charlee. I mean, for instance, after you get a data call from the NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioners, or a specific Department of Insurance in a state where they issue the data calls after the catastrophic storms or the wildfires, things like that. Charlee can do this for you on the fly. Really easy. You don't have to run down the hall to the IT anymore. You can do this, I mean, just on the fly. Now, because you attended today's webinar, we have a special introductory 30-day free trial for you. We would like for you to take Charlee Search for 30 days free of cost. There are some conditions that apply, but I need for you to get in touch with us. There are 2 ways to contact us: info@infinalytics.com, right there on your screen, or call us 844-826-6906. And we would like the Infinalytics team would like to get you set up right away to experience Charlee Search, free of charge for 30 days. So, I mean, one last look at the questions here, and I think they've all been answered. So no one, I know everyone likes speeches delivered to conclude early. So I don't see any more questions. I know your time is valuable. Thank you for attending today's webinar and learning about Charlee Search. And I hope that you give us a call, reach out to us. We'd love to do a project with you. Once again, thank you for attending, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll probably wait another couple of minutes just to see if there are any other questions that show up, and then we can conclude. So anyone else if you have any other questions, please feel free to add in the chat window. If any questions have not been answered, please do let us know.